They took $20,000 out of their savings to give to my sister, and then they tried to raise my rent. I then left them to take care of her mess by herself. I am a normal 25-year-old who worked hard to finish college, and get my first job was as a teacher in a primary school. Even though the pay isn't great, I like working with having kids, so it's worth it. But money is tight, especially when you first start out. That's why I've been living with my parents in the place I grew up in the suburbs. It's not the most interesting arrangement, but it is useful, as my dad would say. They charge me a fair rent, and I get my own food. Besides that, when Dad, since he hurt his back last summer, I did things like mow the grass, fix things around the house, and even getting the garage cleaned. It's not exciting, but it's only temporary. My plan was to stay for a few years. I want to get my own place and save money. Easy, right? Everything was fine until my older sister Belle came back into the picture. For the most part, Belle, who is 32 years old, has never been the serious type. She was the best behaved kid as a kid. I don't know if it was because she was the first child, or because our parents liked her. They thought she could do no wrong. Though she quit college 3 times, she wasn't inspired the first time. Though the second time, she said the teachers were too demanding. She has only had a few jobs over the years, months. She would quit and make up a reason why it wasn't her fault when things didn't go her way. Parents of Usea always had her back. Are you behind on your rent? They'd pay for it. Did your car break down? They would pay for the fix. Have you been given a ticket for speeding? The check would be written by Mom, complaining that the cops are after young women. At the same time, I was cleaning toilets at Adenert to save money for college and get loans to pay for it. Belle had been living by herself for thought it had been about a few years. It turned out she had been moving homes and always being late on her rent, and counting on her folks to support her. I didn't know about this until she walked up to me one day and told everyone she was pregnant. That being said, I'm not here to judge anyone's decisions, but let's say Belle's things were not steady at all. She had been seeing the father of the child for a few months, and from what I could tell, you could tell he wasn't happy about the pregnancy. As soon as she told him, he pretty much disappeared. You do think Belle would pay attention, right? This could have been the moment she realized she needed to get her life, but no. She ran straight to her parents, who went straight to her to-fix mode. Inside of a week, work began on the basement to turn it into a small room for her. They even put in a kitchenette. I didn't ask where the money was coming from, but I heard Mom say that they were using their save for retirement. I tried to stay away from it because, to be honest, it wasn't my business. They could throw. I threw money at Belle, but I knew what was going to happen anyway. Every so often my parents bringled. Everyone else know about Belle's problems. Like, they think we all need to work together to help her, no matter what though bad things have gotten for her. I told myself at first that it wouldn't worry me. Belle had a small room that was being built in the basement, which will give her her own room. I thought she'd move in, do her thing, and I'd keep going with my life. My life. Again, seeing everyone go out of their way to help her made me angry, but I tried not to think about it. That way of thinking worked for about 2 months. Then little things started to add up. At first, my mom told me that even though I worked full-time, I should have spent more time with Belle because she was going through so much, and most days they came home tired. Then came the sneaky guilt trips. Mom would say things like, Belle's pregnant and single right now, and she doesn't have anyone else to lean on. It's so hard. Direct at me, as if I were supposed to fix all of Belle's problems. Dad wasn't getting better. In every discussion, he would find a way to bring Belle up. You ought to be thankful for everything you have, Riley, he would say, as he passed the salt at dinner. Not everyone has it so good as you. Luckily, I was just barely making it while trying to build a job, while saving money. At the same time, Belle was given a flat that had been fully redone, as well as unending cash and emotional help. But things got worse when I heard Mom and Dad arguing. Having a chat one night, I was making tea in the kitchen while they were in the living room. She said that she would need a lot of help when the baby comes. Of course, Dad replied. We'll all help out. All Mom did was ask. Dad said, well, you, me, and Riley. As if it were clear, I almost dropped mimic. I hadn't been told anything about this plan, but it was clear that they already knew I would be a part of it. And at that point I began to feel nervous. I didn't know all the details yet, but I could tell they were making something that would bring me into Belle's nest. Even if I didn't want to be there. The bad feeling got worse when Belle kept coming over. She would fall asleep on the couch and moan about how hard it was to be pregnant and how bad it was that her ex-boyfriend had broken up with her. She would say something in passing about how I was lucky to have a steady job and no kids to think about. I've always bit my tongue, since I didn't want to start a fight. Yet I couldn't help but wonder, why does this always happen on you? By the time dinner came around that night, I was sure something was going to happen. I had no idea what it was, but I knew it was bad. As we ate dinner, I couldn't tell. It was hard to shake the feeling that something bad was about to happen. When everyone seems too careless, like when they Ariel trying to keep a secret from you, that's how it felt. Mom and Dad were talking, while Belle looked through her phone. They talked about odd things related to the neighbor's new fence. It didn't feel natural. It was like they were waiting for the right time to hurt me. I made spaghetti for dinner because that's what my dad always makes. We need to talk about food as a family. I have no idea why. It's not like spaghetti makes it easier to handle bad news. I tried to focus on my work and not think too much about it, but about halfway through, Mom cleared her throat during dinner. So, we've been thinking, she told her dad. Nothing, I said. Bone is going to need some help now that she's moving back in with her parents, Mom said, and her tone showed it. Helpful. What do you need help with? I asked, in an attempt to keep a neutral tone. Dad jumped in. With the baby before she could answer, Belle has a lot to do right now, and it's going to be a busy one. Going after everything by herself was hard for her. I looked at Belle, who was not even looking up. She kept scrolling through her phone like this had nothing to do with her. Okay, but what do I have to do with that? When I put down my fork, I asked. Parents looked at each other with one of those looks, as if they were trying to figure out how to say what they were saying. My mom told me, "You're already living here, and you're so good, with kids being teachers and all. We thought it would be a good idea for you to help us watch the kids. Can you help?" I asked again, lifting an eyebrow. Dad nodded warmly. Yeah, you just watch the child while Belle gets up. It wouldn't be full-time or anything, just when you're home. I was shocked to hear that you want me to watch a baby. On top of that, you work full-time. Well, you have 3 more days at home, Mom said. And you don't pay rent in the market, Dad said, as if that were important. I took a quick look at them too. You should know what they asked. They weren't just looking for a little help. They thought I would take on a whole extra job for free. Wait, let me get this straight, I said in a low voice. I'm slouched in my chair. Do you want me to take care of Bale's baby when I get home from work? Mom sighed. Sweather. I was purposely being hard to deal with. Riley, that's not how it is. Everybody am going to help. All, I said again. Dad replied, yes. We all help each other because we're family. Belle looked up from her phone at that point. Oh my, Riley, she exclaimed with a grin. I had no idea that helping your sister meant so much to you. My hands began to twist in two with their hands on the table. I didn't mean to snap, but the way she spoke made me angry. That's not the point, I answered. I work for myself and have my own life. I can't just leave everything to watch the kids, Mom said in an angry voice. You're being selfish. Belle is having a really tough time at the moment. At the very least you can help her out. Why is it my job to change the choices she makes? I asked, my voice rising, even though I was trying to stay calm. She's 32 years old. Old. She is no longer a child. I gotta, are you kidding me? Look from Belle? Look, that's enough, Dad said in a stern voice. We're all in this together, whether you like it or not. You live with us, so we expect you to help out. Family, I replied. I pay rent. I buy food for myself. I help with housework. Why isn't that enough? Sometimes, the room was very quiet, and I could feel the stress in the air. Belle just sat there. She was sitting there as if she already had the win. Mom answered, if you're willing to help, we might need to rethink where you live. I thought, are you making threats to get rid of me? Mom quickly answered, of course not. But if you don't want to, if you don't pay more, we might have to talk about raising your rent. What I heard shocked me. I had denied